Welcome to Geek Rant. Hey everyone, welcome to Geek Rant. It's Greg here again on the channel with Toby, and today we're going to be talking about a sci-fi classic, Aliens with an S.
Yeah, we did Alien already, didn't we?
We did Alien recently.
Yeah.
Also with the release of Alien Romulus, which is set for Friday, I believe.
Yeah.
Friday the 16th
16th.
of August. We decided,
Excited.
yeah, we've watched the trailers and think that's going to be interesting. So we want to review that one, don't we? As it's once it's come out and have a look at that together. But we thought would be good to go back and look at Aliens. There seems to be some sort of reminiscent sort of bits appearing in the trailer. Some of the weaponry, some of the bits, the style, which is great, which is encouraging in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what that really is looking at the two directors, and Ridley Scott and James Cameron.
Yeah.
And what they bring to it. And I guess we'll talk about the different elements, more focusing obviously on Aliens, but will Aliens Romulus incorporate the two? What is it? What's going to come? That is the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Will be interesting. So yes, today we're going to talk about Aliens. And in particular, we've both watched the special edition, which has recently, I think, been touched up. I don't know whether they use some sort of AI type approach to it or something.
I don't know. The lighting definitely seems brighter.
Yes. Yeah, it's very clean and crisp, isn't it?
Yeah,
and they've done a really good job of it. And like we say with most of these films, this is one of our favorite films, isn't it? We've watched this a whole bunch of times.
Well, it's amazing.
It is a great film. But I've obviously seen over the years how they've improved the quality of the footage, and especially with the special edition, the previous special edition I used to watch on a DVD. Very much you could really tell when the inserted bits had come in, because the lighting was slightly different, the quality of the video was different, and they seem to have done a really good job of making this all very consistent across the whole of the film, which I'm really impressed with.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ultra HD as well.
So
that's something that they push now, isn't it? Amazon particularly push that. Well, what I found when I was watching, I thought it was very crisp. I thought the lighting was much stronger in parts. But I would say that there was a bit of a clash for me, because we had a very striking, say, images of them going through the nest, and you could see where the joins of the secretions came down to the metal grating.
Right.
And with this new update, I could see those joints much more clearly.
That's interesting.
And I thought to myself that although there are definite benefits, you can see the characters look amazing. It's much clearer.
Yeah.
But I did feel at certain points that was a bit detrimental. I thought it broke,
made it too crisp,
the immersion a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also I kind of thought to myself, we are jumping from the camera footage, which is purposely rough, from the Marines cameras, on the mounted cameras, and
I can see what you're saying,
to this even crisper view. And I found that was a more jarring transaction. There was a kind of, I thought that jumped from one to the other, and it was more obvious.
I suppose that's in one section of the film, isn't it? There's that one bit where they go in and they sort of first encounter the alien, like I say, lair.
And there's scenes where they look at the computer screens. They're quite retro, aren't they?
That's it.
And it kind of then comes to this sharp, improved scene. And it's difficult. I mean, we want a better quality image.
Yes.
But does it affect the artistry of the film? I mean, that is.
I know what you mean, because I often feel one of the mistakes that they make with some of these films is showing you too much of the creature. Do you know what I mean? Or showing you too much of these sorts of things that are supposed to be scary. Part of any of these films, in my mind, is your own mind has to sort of fill in some of the gaps and create
Yeah,
the horror in your own mind. And if you show too
yeah,
much, it can be, like you say, detriment. It doesn't seem as scary. So a lot of the time when I see like Alien versus Predator and those Alien Requiem, those ones, you see much more the aliens, you see much more the predators, and
yeah,
and it loses. And I can see exactly what you're saying. You know,
yeah,
one of the real effects that you had in this, there was a lot of smoke and there was a lot of foggy
yeah,
sort of areas, and they were
yeah.
trying to explore, and it's hidden. The monsters are hidden a bit, and you're sort of, that makes it more
Yeah.
scary, you know?
And once Crow explodes with all the ammo,
Yes.
there's the fires start and the smoke comes up, and it's better. It's
Yes.
better,
Yes,
you
that's
know.
true.
So
Yeah.
you lose those things. So it's only really as they're entering in and
Yeah,
exploring,
I think you're
you
probably
know.
right. And I didn't feel when at the end when Sigourney goes in to rescue Newt, I did kind of feel that was still really good. That was really well done. That was quite
Yeah,
smoky, you know, where the
yeah,
alien was coming after them. You know, so yeah, but it's a good point, isn't it? About how,
yeah,
you know, they're trying to make everything look crisp and ultra HD, and
yeah,
sometimes you don't want that because it's not the atmosphere that you're going to create
yeah.
with your video.
Well, I mean, the immersion is a key tool in the Alien film. You know,
Exactly.
you want to feel like you're there almost. And
Mm,
there's
mm.
like he uses Cameron uses that a number of times. There's some scenes where Bishop is in the tunnel in that little tube,
Yeah, yeah,
claustrophobic tube, and
yeah.
he's kind of doing that
That little,
movement.
yeah.
I mean, that's the most extreme moment when you feel like, oh my God, who'd want to do that? But you
Yeah.
know,
I would definitely not be doing
no,
that.
but the use of the camera footage, which is very
Yes.
narrow, and you get
Yeah.
glimpses. There's very much control over the visual language.
Yes.
And I think that it's easy to overlook. We can look at a great film like this, and we can
Mm,
say it's just awesome, the special effects, the monsters. But actually,
mm.
it is a masterclass in film directing from
It
James Cameron.
is
You know,
definitely. And I think now I watch it now, it still holds up against
yeah,
any film you're watching these days. I think that to me is a true sign of a like you say, a masterclass in filming. You know,
yeah,
it really holds up still really well. All the effects were done there on
yeah.
site, and
In camera
they
models,
still look amazing, don't they? I mean,
they
sometimes you
do.
can say, oh, the plane looks a little bit like a model, but
Yeah.
they still look fantastic, and I don't miss any CGI on this at all. You know, it is perfect just the way it is. The
It is
aliens
the back
themselves,
projection
yeah,
is the reason why the back projection works so well is because Cameron had a real hold on
mm,
the lighting.
mm.
He understood the lighting. He fired his first guy who was dealing with
Yes,
the lighting,
yeah,
and then they got another guy who he'd worked
mm,
with on commercials. And bearing in mind he's relatively inexperienced, it was all
yeah,
about a technical eye recognizing he needed to match the models
mm,
with the action,
yes.
and he could see
He
how
knew how to
important
do
that
that, didn't
was.
he? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that really comes through, and because they filmed it in the UK, and it was
mm,
he didn't have a lot of support from the British crew. They had very particular
no,
ways of doing things, and he was
mm,
as a young American,
mm.
and so there's quite a bit of conflict on the set,
I know. Yeah, I've
and
watched a few documentaries about it,
yeah,
and it is quite interesting, isn't it? That
yeah,
when he turned up, he had sort of said to, they were like, "Hang on, we thought this was a Ridley Scott film," you know, and I think that was
yeah,
part of the resentment, you know, that it was being taken over by, which Canadian, you know, so over
yeah, Canadian,
by like a, but they think of him as an American,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
I think there was a bit of resentment to start with, and he tried. I think he did try and sort of get them on board by showing the Terminator, and but none of them turned up to watch it. You see, so they
no.
didn't recognize that he was actually one of the up and coming directors. You know, that would
Yeah.
help shape the industry. You know,
And
um,
I think that that's interesting because in the UK, not so much these days,
mm,
but a job is a job is a
mm,
job. So
yeah,
you go in, you do your job.
yeah,
You're not necessarily artistically inspired.
mm,
You just do it as well as you can. You
yeah,
get bloody good results,
Yeah.
But at times you have to have that creative mind who's
Yeah.
leading
Yeah,
these people who
definitely.
aren't. It's the same
Definitely.
with English actors. There's a long tradition of English actors just doing their job. So they'll appear in lots of crappy stuff, some really good stuff. They're just
Yeah.
if they're not working, then they're
Oh
not being an
yeah.
actor.
I
You
know
know,
they were like taking tea breaks and the Americans were getting
yeah,
annoyed by that. And I think it was
yeah,
also that Cameron had come from a very particular way of creating films, that it was you worked 20-hour days and you did everything is to keep the budget down, and you try and fell out with the assistant director.
yeah,
Again, it was a British
yeah,
guy who was very
yeah.
much, and then the crew,
Fired him.
he fired him, and then the crew sort of supported the assistant director and all sort of walked off. And
Yeah,
at the end, it was Sigourney Weaver who had to sort of mediate, and that
yeah.
then reshaped the film. Everybody was then on
Well,
board.
and ironically, she didn't want to do the film initially. She met with Cameron, and he convinced her to do it.
Mm.
So, and then there were that whole
Wow.
issues with
What was crazier
her
than that?
wage,
What was
and
crazy?
because she
Wow.
was paid 40,000 to do the first film, and
Yeah.
then she wanted 1 million to do the second film,
Yeah.
and the studio didn't want to pay her, but they managed to work it, which is
Well,
just
they
absolutely
had
insane.
they had come up with a whole script. Come up with the whole thing based
Mm,
on the Ripley character, and they hadn't even asked her. So I think
yeah,
that's how she managed to drum up the money. And I think Cameron then said, "We're not going to do it if we don't have Sigourney Weaver. She is
yeah,
Ripley. You can't do it without her." I think she was brilliant in this.
yeah.
There isn't a better performance in a sci-fi
I
type movie, I
Yeah,
feel.
I agree, and I
Um,
I think that Cameron he recognized something in
yeah.
Sigourney.
Mm,
He saw the first film,
mm,
and there's something very alchemical about Sigourney Weaver. There's something.
mm, mm.
Her skin is. He often
Yeah.
portrays it as slightly damp. Like she's sweating, and
Mm.
her knuckles and fingers are so long and bony. They look as if they are face clinger fingers. you know
Yeah.
she has
Face hugger.
something
Yeah.
of the alien, yeah, the face hugger, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
She has a she has a kind of like
I know.
an alien quality to her, which,
Yes.
if you think about how the sequence of films evolves,
Yeah.
this was clear. He saw this in the actor,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
character, the actor, and then accentuates that as you go through the film. And there's close-ups of her damp skin, then there's close-ups of aliens with their kind of damp skin, and the atmosphere is very misty, and she kind of fits into that vibe. She's so
Yeah.
pale and almost alien-like herself in a kind of her strange beauty. I think
Um,
it's more her appendages, her
yeah.
fingers. They're kind of that really kind of become alien. But yeah, and she really plays into that.
Yeah.
She is the mother alien.
Yeah.
There's that kind of relationship. She's protecting her children. The
Exactly.
alien is protecting her
I know.
children.
I know.
There's
This
that
is it.
all the parallels that James Cameron pulls out. He knows what he's
Yeah.
doing with all this.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He's laying down these triggers, these marks
Well,
as you go along.
well, I mean, this isn't the first strong female character that he promotes. He again, from seeing some background stuff, he'd
Mm,
had a very good relationship with his own mother. You see, she was a very
mm,
strong character who'd always pushed him in what he's doing rather than his
mm,
father. And
mm,
so I think he's kind of had this in his mind that the women can be strong and powerful
mm,
characters, and
mm.
you look at the Terminator. He had Sarah
Sarah Connor.
Connor,
Mm,
as a major character, and
mm,
and it's great. I think that is great because he
yeah,
creates this brilliant character who is a kind of a normal person who's been she's been dragged into this scenario, hasn't she? And I mean, obviously in the first one, she's managed to survive this terror of that alien on the first ship.
yeah,
She doesn't want to go with the the commandos, does she? At the beginning of the film, she wants to,
no,
just go and have a normal job and
yeah.
be a normal
But the
person.
alien still haunts her. It's still part of her.
Exactly, exactly.
And when you see her in the room, you see her holding the cigarette with her fingers,
Yeah.
and it's almost like the alien is there. And there's a kind of visual reference.
Yes, that bit where she's got, that is definitely a
Yeah.
very, I always think of
Yeah.
that bit as well, with the cigarette burning down and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But
Mm.
I think that's what's nice about it. They didn't paint her to be like this perfect heroism, or godlike character. She was very much like you say, a mother, who and that was another bit that I thought with the special edition that was a great addition to this, was that you saw that she'd had a daughter, and obviously because she'd been in a hypersleep for like 60 years or something.
Yeah.
Her daughter had grown up and died, and that was a good poignant bit at the beginning there, and that really helped to cement
motivation.
Behind trying to save Newt, and
and why she's so pissed off in the meeting as well, that she
Yes.
goes straight into after finding out about it. I know that they make her pissed off, but it's a good, it gives her that more reason.
It does.
There's motivation, there's the mother relationship. It runs through it. In fact, I mean, she has a lot of flaws, but I think that's one of James Cameron's key directorial signifiers. He takes characters with flaws and really plays up those flaws, like Hudson. I mean, he is deeply flawed in many ways.
Absolutely.
And Hicks,
but that's what makes it real. I mean,
it makes it real.
And I feel a bit of that is, when you look at the original Alien, the characters were very flawed. They were all arguing about their pay and their
money,
wages and these sorts of things. And I think that really came across well here. Hudson was moaning, "Oh, get me out of this shit," and all that sort of and so on. But just makes it so much more realistic, doesn't it? They think about the characters' actual motivations, who they are, what they're about. That's what real character building is about, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that the way that he had so many of them as well. I mean, it was a brave thing to do, but I think it's also a reflection of the time. So that came out in '86. Probably the peak of cinematic kind of blockbusters, and it was very much a different time from, say, '79. I think '79 is the first film. That comes out of more of a kind of that's still drawing on the inheritance of 2001, the first film, with a kind of more artistic cinematic approach. But Cameron's not afraid to drag that Alien feel into the 80s action blockbuster.
This is it.
And it becomes something very different. And it's
not a horror film, is it really? It's more of
an
action.
Sci-fi action.
Sci-fi action.
Yeah. And he recognizes that. And in fact, he got some of the cast to read the book Starship Troopers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he wanted that kind of crazy alien action with the guns and the troopers. And of course, it's common knowledge that they most of them were trained by soldiers, so they all had trooper training. So
and I liked it also that he allowed them to like graffiti their armor. There were you saw certain things written on their arm, and things like that, and that was the own cast doing their own little bits on their armor. I thought that was a really nice touch, that it made it more personal, builds those characters up. I think the characters are really, really good in this, and they're really I've written down here realistic, and a lot of the time they're put in this situation and they're just trying to find their way to survive against this.
Yeah, they're cocky,
onslaught.
aren't they? Yeah, they're cocky. Apparently the production designers were basing it on the Vietnam encounter with the troops, and how some of those would appear very cocky on camera, despite the terrible situation that was appearing in Vietnam at the time. But they based it upon those troops that they'd seen during that period, and they are in that stage where they're suddenly caught off guard, and we suddenly have a time limit, and suddenly the things are going to blow up. And suddenly, so these cocky characters just find themselves in this moment where there's a great, it's a great, because Cameron's script, obviously, he wrote it while he was waiting to film Terminator. he then has these points. So he uses time devices. He uses this the constant sense of something that's terrible is going to happen, and you're on edge the whole time.
Well, it was using those motion tracker devices as well, wasn't it? That was a really good way of building up the tension a bit. Counting down. Oh, they're 10 feet. Then I loved all that. I think that's such a great. I mean, it was done in the first one a little bit. Where they're trying to find it in the tunnels or tubes or whatever, the ship. But it's done to great effect here. He's really developed that as a plot device,
I think Alien is it's more classic horror,
Yes.
So the build-up's going to be slow.
Yeah.
And I think something we haven't mentioned that is just so vital is James Horner's soundtrack.
Yeah.
Is just blistering. Now, it was interesting because James Cameron, he had never really worked that much with musicians and composers before, because this is one of his first films. So apparently he put a lot of pressure on James Horner, and their relationship broke down basically.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Towards the end of that, right. And they kind of reunited later in life, but they never thought Horner never thought he'd work again with James Cameron, because he and his wife were so sort of rude and pressurizing that he.
Yes, Gail Ann Hurd, who was the producer.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that actually in the end probably turned out to be like a good thing. It's like Stanley Kubrick used to have all sorts of unusual methods of getting the best out of his actors.
Yes.
And I think James Cameron had a lot of he was creating a work of art. In his mind. Yeah. This was needed. You had to give a lot of yourself to make product. I mean, we see that he really did give so much. That's why the film would have been nothing without James Cameron. It would never have been anywhere near as good.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the best sequels to an original classic, isn't it? It didn't destroy it. It was something different. It just built on it, didn't it? And like you say, I think because it was mid-80s, there was a lot of action, sort of blockbusters and things going on. That kind of, it fell into that, didn't it? It's immensely cool in places. There are some brilliant battle scenes, and the weaponry, and I like the vehicle that they drive about, a tank sort of vehicle that they have. The different types of weaponry and things that they employ. The M41 or whatever it is a great weapon, and
the sound effects, the sound effects of the guns is just like nothing else. It's the best sound effect of any gun. It's when like the sound is like the cry of alien, isn't it? It's like the cry of an alien compacted, and it's just so fantastic. And I just with that because they won the Oscar for the sound effects, so it really and no one's matched that ever since they did that noise.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you think of other things like a lightsaber noise, and you think of those kind of things, but it's for a gun, it is like one of the best sounds, isn't it? They've
it's animal like, it's kind of animalistic.
Yeah, they probably mixed that, didn't they? They probably mixed it with something, which is always a good way of doing it. But it's also things like just the effects of the aliens themselves. There's a few bits where you see them like bouncing off the walls, like jumping down the walls, and it's so well done. It's the alien queen had like a couple of guys inside it that were steering it and moving it.
The
about.
Animatronics of it all,
It was amazing, but it looks so real. It looks so convincing. I
mean, we've never seen an alien, have we? But we see that as the form of an alien, and it's that Geiger artwork that feeds into it again. I think that is again another thing that kind of emphasizes the artistry of the project. That it's artists being pulled in to create this work. Horner, Cameron, Geiger, they're all coming in to create what becomes this masterpiece. It's an awesome combination.
And it's good because it retained that style, didn't it? You know, you
Yeah.
it kept the alien in a similar shape and form, you know.
Yeah.
And that was really good, you know. I mean, there
Yeah.
were some other really good bits that were added for the special edition. You obviously see the base before it's taken over by the aliens, which again, nice little bit. You see Newt and
Yeah.
her parents going out to find
Yeah.
the
That's probably the
spaceship.
weakest part where they drive out.
Do you think? Do you think
I think so.
that's oh, that's
I
interesting.
like it, but
I
I
like
think
it.
it's I think especially the Ultra HD edition
Ah,
really brings out the light, and you can really it's not so
yeah.
the transitions between outside the cab and inside the cab, and then the acting
Right.
is a bit wooden. I thought in those bits.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but
Interesting.
otherwise, I mean, this is a very little
Yeah,
quibble
yeah, yeah.
because
No,
I still
listen.
think I think it's
Still
an
brilliant.
amazing and great to see the build up and the guy out of Red Dwarf who has an appearance.
Yes, yes, I know the guy
Yeah,
you mean.
the
He's like
the,
the
the
captain and
yeah yeah.
the
If you know his name, put it in the comments down below.
yeah.
But
Um, but
yeah, so
for me, the one thing that I felt they shouldn't have taken out of the original film and they should have
mm,
kept in is the Sentry robot section
yeah
where they set up those robots and as they you know the aliens come down the thing that but they again you barely see anything. You barely see
yeah
any sort of the there's only a couple of little tiny little clips of aliens being
yeah,
killed, but
and they're cutting from other scenes. I don't know whether you know
yeah.
this.
Oh, are
So
they?
they're not, yeah, they
Right.
didn't actually film
Right,
the aliens being shot
of
in the
course.
tunnels. So
No.
they had to cut those in. So they
Ah,
had done some outtakes where
yeah.
had blown up some aliens
Ah,
to
there we
use
go.
in the film.
Yeah, there are
And then
just a
they
couple of
just
little
put that
snippets,
in.
aren't there? A couple of little snippets.
Yeah.
But they work so well, and you
Oh,
think
they
to
do.
yourself, bloody hell, how many aliens are in that corridor? How many are
Yeah, you do.
coming after
Again,
them, you
it's
know?
the not seeing it. It's the
Whoa.
kind of that works a great
Yeah.
deal. If you don't have to see everything for it to be
See,
scary.
just seeing the
Which that's
counters.
something that today's directors
Yeah.
would be more aware of. You don't have to see everything all the
No.
time. Your mind can fill in the gaps. You know.
Exactly. And because we've got CGI now, we think we've got to see
Mm,
everything. It's all got to
God.
be, you know, the. I often think that with some of the characters you see, like Batman, you know, I'm a
Yeah.
fan of. You don't see much of Batman. He's like a ninja in the dark. You know,
Yeah.
you see
He
him.
appears when it's dark because he doesn't
Yeah,
want people to see him. It makes sense. The
yeah,
bat is in the dark. He's a man in a suit. You
yeah,
know, he doesn't have superpowers. He needs to use the darkness to his advantage.
yeah. You know, but you're right. That's just what modern directors should take a
I
good
think so.
thing from, you know, because it's your imagination that helps
Mm,
to create that as a worst thing in your mind, you know, the
yeah.
unknown.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think we can reflect on that for the new Aliens film, Aliens
yes,
Romulus. When that comes out, we can
yeah,
that'll be
yeah,
one of the things that we look at probably, you
yeah,
know, when we're thinking about it.
yeah. No,
Hopefully,
exactly.
what we're reflecting here will hopefully people can think about that when they're watching the Aliens Romulus film
Yeah, yeah.
as well.
You know, the other characters that I always enjoy is watching the Bishop, you know, sort of relationship. You know, he obviously is. It doesn't turn out to be a psychopath like the other the other android.
Yeah, Ian Holm.
Doesn't have
Oh
that.
my God,
But there's
Ian Holm
obviously
was
the suggestion as
fantastic.
you're going through. There's a bit where one of the guys is talking to him and he's dissecting some of the alien and he's sort of going all a little bit quiet and
Yeah, yeah,
mysterious and you know,
brilliant, brilliant. It's brilliant.
but you know, the bit at the end where he gets stabbed through the chest and he's ripped in half. I mean, that's done really well, isn't it? And just
Oh, that is fantastic.
chucked away, and then he
Mm,
saves Newt. You know, he is a hero, the Bishop character, isn't he?
mm.
And
Yeah,
yeah, Henrik, is it Lance Henriksen? Yeah, Lance
yeah, yeah.
Henriksen. He played that well. You know, that was
He did.
a really good casting. I mean, that probably kept him employed for the next. Well, since the rest of his
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got this
Slightly eerie.
otherworldliness about him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's strange, but very likable in a way. You
Yeah,
know, I kind of like, and his weird
you
haircut
could.
he
I
has. It kind
know.
of his hair comes down like this, and you're kind of like, okay,
He does
maybe
look.
an
He
android
does
would
look
have.
like a. He does look a bit robotish, doesn't he? He does
Yeah,
look a bit. Yeah.
he does. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
good.
my favorite character is without doubt is Bill Paxton as
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes. Yeah, he is brilliant in
Um,
it.
yeah. I mean, you have to really. He must have been. It must have been very irritating to have him on set while he was doing all that, because they really do look pissed off with him. But I just wonder whether he was stayed in character around. That would have been so cool, just to
Yeah.
be in the studio when he's like, "When are we gonna finish filming this?" You know, or
Yeah,
"Oh,
it
get
would
your
be
lines
funny.
right for God's sake! What the hell is this?" He could have, if he'd stayed in his character, that would have been absolutely hilarious. You know,
No,
he was
it's a brilliant, it's a good character,
he's a much
and
missed actor, isn't he?
I
Because
always I always feel a bit sad when he gets pulled down underneath the by the alien. You
yeah,
see the little
yeah.
pull him down.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that is
oh,
definitely
poor
sad.
old Hudson.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's fantastic, and
Mm,
you know, as I was saying, much missed because he could have gone on and played some other great characters,
yeah,
but you know, and old Carter Burke as well. He's really slimy. I think
yeah.
he's
Paul Reiser.
convincingly slimy. Like you just think he must be like that in real life. Because he's so convincingly
I know.
goofy
It's
and
weird, isn't it?
slimy.
Because we
Yeah.
saw him in Beverly Hills Cop,
Yeah. And he
didn't
was the
we?
same.
And he was, well,
He
he
was
was
similar. He was sort of
similar,
slimy, kind of
similar.
creepy. I want to try
Yeah,
and help you
yeah.
out, you know, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, he was a bit more stupid in Beverly Hills, wasn't he? And he was trying to, trying to earn a load of money in Aliens, wasn't he? So,
Yeah, I
um,
guess.
yeah, I
I
know what you
think that
mean.
they
He was obviously the same
what his
person.
yeah, what his motivations were in Aliens evolves, isn't it? And he
Hmm.
you don't quite know whether he's actually completely under control of the
No,
corporation, whether
no,
it's just self-gain or whether there's some other thing going on there, which is quite nice,
yeah.
you know. So fantastic. Brilliant. I mean, I every time I sit down and watch it, it's the film I've most rewatched over the years.
Yeah,
Aliens.
it's
It's
definitely up
just
there for me.
action-packed and
It
entertaining.
is. It is.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, I can watch it again and still really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not something you
Yeah.
get bored of. I don't know what it is about it, but I always manage to put it on and I'm thrilled. And I love all
Yeah.
the action
It's the
sequences,
characters. It's the
suspense,
characters. So
Well,
what's Alien Romulus gonna? How's it
it,
gonna compare? I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, following Alien and Aliens
well,
being in the
it's
middle of those
also
two films.
that's right. It's set, isn't it?
Yeah.
Time frame. It's set in the middle
Mm,
of the two, so it will
mm.
definitely be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that they haven't done too much kind of nostalgia type bait sort of stuff.
I'm kind of I don't mind that so much.
You don't mind
I don't mind it. I
it.
think we're going into a nostalgia period.
Yeah,
I think that I think if you look
yeah.
at Wolverine and
I know.
Deadpool,
I know.
there's a lot of nostalgia at the moment, and it's really hitting the mark for a lot of people. And to be honest,
Yeah.
I just want to go and enjoy a film. I'm a bit tired of crappy mid-range films that don't
No.
do any. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Good.
brilliant.
Well, I mean, if you haven't seen Aliens
Who are you
online,
if you haven't?
if you haven't, if you're a
What are you
sci-fi
doing?
fan, this is a must.
Yeah,
I know we say that pretty much on every one of these ones we review, but this is up there. So make sure you get out and see it.
yeah,
And obviously, we'd love people to subscribe and like the video.
yeah. Please do.
Yeah, we're enjoying what we're doing, and we want you guys to comment and tell us what you think as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and you got some new shorts as well, which you've put up, which have been very
yes,
well received.
yeah, yeah.
Brilliant.
So have a look at those, see what they're like. And
Not
any
actual shorts you wear on your legs, but short videos.
any suggestions of further shorts? Let us know, and we'll come up with some more for you guys to comment on.
Fantastic.
Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.